Yo, what's up ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ndifon Ntui. On this channel I make sewing tutorials. I post new videos on Monday, Wednesday and on Saturdays. If you like what I do here, make sure to give my videos a like. If you have not subscribed already, like 44% of you haven't, make sure to do so. Alright, if you are a beginner or if you're personal to brush up on your skills, I offer online courses. I'll be showing a demo on how to make a jumpsuit for you to watch, so you decide if learning online will be convenient for you. Alright, so thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. I will see you on the next video, but first, enjoy this video. Bye bye. Yo, what's up guys, welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to make the dress that you've seen on the thumbnail and the B-roll footage before now. So to begin, we're going to need to draft only one pattern that we'll use to cut the front and the back. So to begin, I'm going to draw a line of ½ inch at the top of my paper, like I always do, to signify the shoulder that I'm keeping for joining the front and the back together. Alright, so when you're done with that, the next thing I want you to do, I want you to place the shoulder measurement and the sleeve length next to it. So you've seen the dress, the sleeve is not attached, it's an extended sleeve. So we're going to mark the point for the shoulder and the point for the sleeve length in one stroke. So the shoulder is 15, so 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. I'm going to make a mark at 7.5 over here, and then I'm going to attach my sleeve length, mark my sleeve length right next to it. So the sleeve length I'm working with is 16 inches. I'm going to mark 16 inches here. So after that has been done, the next thing I want to do, draw a straight line down at the 16. Now the next line that we're working with is a bit wide, okay, when it comes to the width, but it's a bit high up into the neck. The neckline depth is not so much, but the width is pretty wide so that it can fall off the shoulder nicely. So for the width, I'm going to use 5.5 for the width, and for the depth, I'm going to come down to only a 2.5. Now remember what I said, this pattern will be used for drafting both the front and the back. So after that, I'm going to join them together and make my curve. Now, of course, you have seen the way the shoulder goes, so there's no slope, so there's no need to slope anything at this point. Just do exactly what I have done. The next thing that you want to do is you want to take your bicep measurements and you divide it by 2 and add an allowance of 6 inches to it. So we need a lot of allowance because of how loose the dress is meant to be. So our bicep is 12 inches. 12 inches divided by 2, that's 6 inches, plus 6 inches for the allowance that we intend to add to it, which brings us back to the initial 12 inch we had. You are going to come over to this point here and make a mark at the 12 inch that you have. Alright, so after that has been done, the next thing I want you to do, simply roll a line from here, bringing it towards the front of the paper. Just make a line like that and you are done with that. Next thing you are going to do is mark the dress length. There are 2 dress lengths. You will see 37 inches / 56. So you've seen the hem. The hem is not the hem is not even. One side is high and then there's a V coming down. So the first number, 37, is the initial length that we have at the top of the V, and at the bottom of the V is the 56. Okay, so you will see me apply that when I'm transferring it to the fabric. But first of all, place the initial one that you have. That's the first number in the 2 measurements you have. Alright, so after you roll the line at the bottom, we're going to come back to this point. Now, by the time you divide your bicep by 2 and then you add the allowance I have told you to add, this space here would be enough for almost any armhole that you are working with. Because if you use the person's bicep, that means it automatically fits the armhole that it is meant for. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place my hip measurements. If you notice this measurement, there is no bust measurement. I'm using hip measurements everywhere because of how loose the dress is. It's not fitting. The fit is not a fitted dress. So I'm going to use the hip everywhere, and then you're going to use a belt to cinch it at the end of the day. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is we're going to divide the hip measurements by 4, and then we're going to add an allowance of 5 inches to it. So the hip I'm working with is 41. 41 divided by 4 is 10.25. 10.25 plus 5 inches is 15.25. So I'm going to place that at this point where we marked our armhole, 15.25. Then I'm going to connect the bottom to the top. In case you are worried about your line being straight, you can come anywhere around the center and mark to 15.25, so that when you're connecting them, you can first focus on connecting the bottom to the middle and the middle to the top. Now when you're done with that, I want you to make a little curve in the armhole so that it's not so sharp. So just curve the bottom part of the armhole. Also, if you don't want the end of your sleeve to be so big, you can reduce it just a little bit to give it a bit of a slant. If you leave it like this, it's fine. If you want to still close it up a bit, it's still going to be okay at the end of the day. So for me, I think I'm going to bring it up a bit to here by 1.5. This is basically. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it out, and then we'll transfer to the fabric where I will show you how to achieve the V. Alright, so now you saw me fold the fabric, so that's how you go about folding. And also the reason why I cut the fabric like this is so that I can turn it for you guys to see it properly. Now with that out of the way, when you place it on top, the next step is to, as for all the other dimensions, that's the neckline, shoulder, down the sleeve, the armhole, and down here, to be cut as it is. Now the dress length I initially kept for the bottom part was 56 inches, but even my fabric is not to 56 inches. But since I'm making this for my wife free of charge, I don't owe her. Whatever she sees is what she gets. So I'm going to modify the length to make it so my fabric can accommodate what I have. I'll use the most that the fabric can give. But if you are making this for a client, then I guess you're in trouble, aren't you? Well, so what I'm going to do, as you can see, I've placed my tape at the shoulder, and at the bottom here, this is where I have my 37. Notice how I didn't add any sewing allowance to the bottom. Now I'm going to pan over to that part there, and let us increase the length together. So here I have 37. I'm going to adjust this to 53 instead of 56, and I'm going to roll a line here. And now next thing you want to do is you want to gently connect this edge that we have over here to this point that we have over here. When you're done with that, the next step is just to cut out the dress. And like I said before, one pattern cuts two dresses, so I'm going to do this again for the back. But whatever you see me do on this part, or whatever I have done on this part so far, is the same thing I'm going to do in reverse on the other side. Okay, so now I have gone ahead to cut the second one, like I said I would. Remember I told you that you should cut them identically. The next thing I'm going to do is we need to cut the V that is meant for the bottom. Now you've seen the way the V is, and it has a big hem. Now it will be dead near impossible to properly hem this like so all the way around. So because of that, we're going to need to cut another fabric and use for that hem effect. For me, so that the opportunity will not be wasted, I intend to contrast this fabric using this. Okay, I want to plan a pattern effect, so I'm going to use this to cut the V that is meant for the bottom, and also to turn the edge of our sleeve. So let's go ahead. Okay, so first of all, you're going to cut a shape like this that is slightly bigger than the bottom half of your fabric. So it's what I'm doing here. After you have aligned it like I have, the next thing you're going to do, first of all, next thing you're going to do is I'm going to mark 4.5. Depends on the size you want the bottom part to be. You can make it 5, but I want it to be 5 inches at the end of the day. So I'm going to mark 4.5. Half inch will be consumed at the bottom, and half inch will be consumed at the top when we're bending it back in, as you will see. So for now, I'm going to mark 4.5 from here all the way up. Alright, so with that, you'll see that we have cut the fabric to be shaped as a V. Alright, so over here we have the V. Alright, so you see this now, this is the wrong side of the fabric, this is the correct side of the fabric. So you're going to take the V that we just cut, this part here, and you're going to take the front side of the V and make it face the wrong side of the fabric. front side of V, wrong side of fabric. Now you can start from here and stitch into the V, but because I want this V to sit here exactly, and just in case of stretch and things that come with fabric, it's best to make sure that you have these points down. So I'm going to start from here, stitch this side of the V before I come back to stitch the other side, so that I'm sure that no matter what, the center is centered on both the fabric and the V that we're placing on top. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, you see this middle part here, you're going to quickly cut here, you see that, and then you're going to turn to the front of the V. You see this, you're going to make a 1/2 inch incision into the center of the V. Please make sure it doesn't exceed 1/2 inch, be careful with this. It's best to use the front of your scissors if it is sharp, and you push the scissors 1/2 inch in and simply make a snip. But mine isn't that, this scissors isn't that sharp, so I'm not going to do that. So after you've made a 1/2 inch incision into the fabric like so, you're going to turn everything to the front. So now that we've turned to the front, now we have the left side and the right side. Now because of this incision that we've made in the center, it will allow us to bend here neatly and get that V look to be as sharp as possible because of this. So you see this, we'll bend here and iron, bend here and iron all the way up here, and then we're going to keep folding here, iron all the way, iron the bottom part too to make sure it is sharp. Alright, so now I'm going to stitch on top of it. Alright, so I'm now going to stitch across the shoulder, neckline. When I get neckline, I'll stop and continue from the other side. Alright, so after joining the shoulders together, for this to be the neatest it can be, I would advise that at this point, this would be the best time to use your overlocker or weaving machine as most call it, to finish the rough edge that you have here so that it will be clean before you take on the step that I'm about to do. The next step is for me to use my bias to turn it. Now, like I said before, my wife is not paying me a dime, so I can afford to use orange bias, but in your case, try and use a corresponding color so that everything is perfect. So I'm now going to turn around this with the bias. So after we have finished the neck with bias, the next thing is to turn the sleeve neatly. That's the edge of the sleeve. So I'm going to also use a contrasting fabric like a pattern fabric like I used at the bottom. Now what I have done is, this is a width of 2.5 and I've cut it to be 3 inches longer than this total. So you're going to measure from here to here on yours, okay, and then you cut with an excess of 3 inches. So let's say from here to here for you is 20, you cut 23 by 2.5. So like I said, 23 by 2.5. Now you're going to place it like I did before. This is the wrong side of the fabric. You can tell by the joining I have here. This is the clean side. Place clean side of the material you intend to face on the wrong side of your fabric. I'm going to keep a little excess of around 1 inch away from the pink. So you see this, I'm keeping the fabric away from it, and then I'm going to iron from here all the way down. Alright, so after we have done that, the next thing is to turn this part here. On top of here. I'm going to press and iron it flat, and then I would hem 1/2 inch at the top everywhere around. So the reason why I asked you to cut it with an excess is so that by the time you are done bending it with 1/2 inch, you can cut the fabric off like so, and then you would have the fabric nicely slanted just like the sleeve is. You can see the 1/2 inch that I bent under here. Alright, so I'm also going to trim here as well, and then I'll turn it to the front and simply just stitch on top of it. Alright, so after hemming your sleeve like so with the fabric that we have, the next thing is simply to join both sides of your sleeve together from here all the way down. After you do this, make sure to use an overlocker to finish the rough edge. But once I get down to the end, I'm basically done with the dress. If you've watched this far, thank you for watching this far into the video. Do have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next video. Also, do not forget to make a belt that will be used to cinch this dress to the waist if you don't have a belt that a ready-made belt that you intend to use with it. But that's a bit easy, so I'm not going to film that part. Once again, thank you. I'll see you in the next video.